answer your question there. If the magistrate judge had been told there's unknown male B in blood in the house attached to the handrail, that might have made more of a difference to her. Maybe a sheath that can be carried to the house and blood in the house that's not the same, maybe that matters. And then maybe the car being completely empty of any blood DNA connection, maybe that matters a little bit more. Maybe it...
Well, I'm just not sure why it matters for probable cause, but I think we're talking over each other, so I'll let you just go on.
Okay. I don't think probable cause is in a vacuum. I think probable cause isn't one thing. I hope it's not one thing. I hope there has to be a little bit more than one thing, especially when you've got another thing that's the same as the one thing.
Well, I said I wouldn't do this, but I'm going to do it anyway because you brought up blood DNA of an unknown individual that was found, I think, on the handrail.
Yes.
Doesn't that necessarily not exclude Mr. Kohberger? What it may do is suggest there might be a potential other person in addition involved if you assume that that blood was related to the victims and not some earlier event in the house.
If what the court is saying is exactly why the magistrate needed to know that. Is there another explanation here? I've got this sheath, but there are all these other things that if I know about them, matter. What's the other explanation? What's going on with this investigation? What's happening here? That's exactly the point, Your Honor. What other explanation is there? The magistrate wasn't given a chance to ask that. She wasn't given a chance to ask that when she wasn't told about unknown male B, blood on the handrail. She wasn't given a chance to ask about that when she wasn't told about unknown male D, blood on a glove right outside the residence. She wasn't given a chance to ask any of those questions. She didn't know that Bryan's car and the court's question, good question, what does that mean? Could it mean there's more than one person? The answer to that is, or it could mean it's not Bryan because his car's got nothing in it and there were only 13 minutes to do this. The magistrate didn't get to know that.
In fact, his DNA is still on the knife sheath, though. That's the problem, counsel, for probable cause purposes.
If that's the only thing she's told, I can see why she'd find probable cause. It's these other things that are withheld that create a context around it. I think the purpose of Frank's is to ask this very question. This is a question. What do we want to do with our criminal justice system? Do we want to have one thing with no context around it when there's this other context that really matters?
Applying the Frank standard, which is even if you add that stuff, does that take away probable cause, counsel? And my problem is once you have a direct DNA tie to the defendant, for purposes of probable cause, this isn't for purposes of conviction, for purposes of probable cause, you have not explained to me why a reasonable magistrate, let alone any magistrate, wouldn't find probable cause there, even if they knew all those other facts. As to Mr. Kohberger, now, there may be, as you say, other people that creates concern or issues about that need to be investigated further, but I'm not sure that that diminishes the probable cause as to Mr. Kohberger if his DNA is found on a knife sheath found on or near the victim who was stabbed with said alleged knife that would have been in said alleged sheath.